every series has its odd one out, an entry that just feels out of place when hung up next to their peers. But that doesn't mean they don't have merit. On the contrary, it just means a series attempted an experiment. And I think Super Mario Sunshine is a perfect example. I'm Billy S, welcome to Billy's Backlog, and I recently played Super Mario Sunshine for the first time via the Super Mario 3D All-Stars collection. I always held off playing Sunshine via an emulator with the hopes we'd get a full-scale remake, and while this is more of an upscaling than anything else, it's the same game people around the world have fallen in love with. Will I learn to love the tropical island of Isle Delfino? Or will I be booking the first flight back home? Let's find out. Sunshine has been in my backlog for a long time, as it's the only major 3D Mario game I'd yet to play, though thanks to the memes about the cutscenes and the sheer comedy that the final boss is Bowser in a bathtub, it stayed in my cultural zeitgeist. Now, I'm going to be upfront when I say I am not 100% completing this game. For this video, I played up until the final boss and watched the credits roll, collecting a grand total of 77 Shine Sprites, and I am satisfied. I will not be doing the blue coin collectathon, as there's no streamlined way to keep track of all the coins I need to find, and there are some levels I didn't fully finish, only getting up to the 7th shine so I could unlock Corona Mountain. But I took on a majority of the challenges I wanted to try, mainly the infamous content that people have touted as the hardest challenges in the game, like the Pachinko machine, the lily pad ride, stuff like that. Super Mario Sunshine takes place on the idyllic holiday destination Isle Delfino, ruled over by a corrupt organization of piantas who blame Mario for ruining their island with magic paint, goop, and messages to subscribe to Billy S for new uploads every Wednesday because 84% of you aren't subscribed, so subscribe now. What a villain, Mario. Of course, any regular judge would realize Mario couldn't have committed the crimes because he wasn't in the country at the time, with Princess Peach and the various Toads acting as key witnesses. But no, the piantas heard Mario said ACAB and decided to make him do community service, tasking him with collecting the missing Shine Sprites to bring sunlight back to the island. And so, Mario must run, jump, and spray across the hub of Delfino Plaza and the 7 main levels around the island to complete his quest and discover just who is impersonating him and attempting to kidnap Peach. To do this, Mario is equipped with a Flash Liquidizer Ultra Dowsing device, also known as Flood. This water pack, created by Luigi's Mansion's Professor Egad, can spray water at enemies, clear away deadly goop, and, using its 3 dedicated special nozzles, allow Mario to complete various platforming puzzles. His base equipment is the hover nozzle, which will be your main secondary nozzle throughout the game. It allows you to hover in mid-air, adjust your jumps, float to far platforms, and so much more. It's extremely versatile, and when combined with some of Mario's fluid sunshine movement tools, you can get to places you wouldn't expect fairly quickly. The hover nozzle is perfect for learning the ropes, as you're able to course correct failed jumps. Just don't try turning in mid-air or you'll lose pretty much all your momentum. Later in the game, you get a turbo nozzle, which launches Mario forwards like a jet ski, allowing him to break open special doors and run on water, as well as the rocket nozzle, which launches Mario upwards like a rocket, allowing him to reach high areas. These extra nozzles sadly don't see much use outside of specialized challenges, and feel like they were mainly added for the sake of a quota as opposed to being an actual part of Mario's kit. The Red Man himself has a variety of movement options that I won't go terribly in depth with here, but suffice it to say, I'm a bit shit at these games. I got most usage out of the side somersault and the spin jump, which give Mario a serious amount of height, and were the only reasons I was able to stand a chance once you hit those non-flood special stages required to beat the game. Mario still has his classic triple jump, though the long jump was removed, rest in peace. I definitely miss it. It's a vital aspect of Mario's kit that just feels wrong to not have access to, and could definitely have lived in tandem with Flood's movement mechanics. Speaking of movement, It's perhaps some of the most unique feeling controls in the series, and I can imagine speedruns of this game are insane. You can just feel the potential oozing off of Mario's kit. But for casual first-time players, acclimating to the extremely slippery controls is gonna be a struggle. He does not sissy that walk, he sissies that run, everywhere. It's very difficult to make precise movements with this control scheme, which for a platformer, is a f***ing nightmare. I was fighting the controller for the entire first half of my playthrough while trying to learn how to control Mario. You get this in most games, to be fair, but I've never struggled this much with learning a control scheme in a Mario game before. It was a very odd sensation to be so on the back foot as I tried to learn the ropes. It doesn't help that the tutorial for Flood at the start of the game is just a video of the different actions, when for something like Flood, I think an actual tutorial level would have been more effective, one you could opt out on in future playthroughs. And the fact that Mario has so many movement tools and abilities, but you have to check the controls list in the menu just to have an idea of what he's capable of is ridiculous. I'm not saying every movement option needs a tutorial or tip, but the spin jump and side somersault should be explained in-game, and if they are, I didn't see it. I didn't find out until near the end of my playthrough, for example, that if I jump and hold down both firing buttons for Flood, I'd shoot a giant water burst in front of me. This was a major help and a practical requirement within the Serena Beach Episode 6 shine that I would not have been able to finish had I not looked up some sort of guide to streamline the process. And for the love of God, click the right stick in so you can get an easier aiming view when using Flood. I took so long to figure out basic mechanics in this game to the point of genuine shame. For example, and feel free to roast me when you hear this, I didn't realize I could ground pound in this game. I almost died to PT f***ing Piranha. For anyone looking to play Sunshine for the first time, please just take your time to learn the control scheme. Levels like Rico Harbor are designed to be these climbing parkour stages so you can master Flood, while the various non-Flood special stages will give you that old school Mario feeling you know and love, even if I feel they rely on those extra challenges a little bit too much. I'm actually impressed that Nintendo wasn't afraid to up the difficulty with Sunshine. This is easily the hardest 3D Mario game I've ever played, it's not even close. Some people will really appreciate that, and I like that I was challenged from start to finish. I just wish some of that challenge felt more natural and intended. The camera was also something I had to work around. Very often I'd find the camera clipping through walls so I can't see what I'm trying to do or what jumps I'm trying to make. Sometimes it'll just be too close to me and I'll need to adjust before making any movements. It can be frustrating when I'm trying to do very specific jumps and the camera just wants to make my life hell. It's still leagues better than the archaic Mario 64 camera though, so I will give props where they're due. To beat the game, you need to complete the first 7 Shine Sprites in each of the different worlds, with the 7th Sprites always being a chase down of Shadow Mario. Completing all of them unlocks the Corona Mountain stage, which is a short, singular slice of the lowest circle of hell, featuring a boat ride from Armageddon itself, leading to the final boss. Shine Sprites come in all shapes and sizes. Sometimes you have to beat a boss, sometimes you have to platform to a specific area in a stage. Sometimes you'll access a location that takes you to a special stage, some with Flood, some without. Whatever the case, you'll be exploring these environments over and over, seeing the locations change with each new shine you collect. The levels of Sunshine feel a bit underutilized though, compared to the levels in 64 or Galaxy. While I feel the worlds are more realized locations than in 64, some of them don't have much to offer. Yes, Gelato Beach is gorgeous, and I'd love to relax there for a day out, but the shines are not much to write home about. Serena Beach should have just been called Serena Hotel, because only 2 shines really make use of the beach setting, with everything else taking place in an admittedly awesome hotel. Every world has a good shine or two that stands out. I just think the game doesn't respect your time, and I don't like that. You're often doing the same platforming you did in a previous mission, and it feels like filler when you're having to do the same jumps to get to the same places. 64 had the same issue to a lesser extent, but the more varied level design helped to hide that fact. Sunshine doesn't really have that to rely on. The stages do look gorgeous though. Something about the painterly style just oozes creativity. I'm weirdly obsessed with the rock textures, and it fits with the theme of the game's villain using a paintbrush to cause mischief. This game relies a bit too heavily on the special stages that end up taking place in various floating voids for my liking, though every now and then you will have one that thematically fits. The Sandbird level from Gelato Beach felt like a continuation of a small storyline from past shines, and at least you get to keep Flood in that one. But then you have the non-Flood levels that are mandatory whether you like it or not, and I can't help but think, rather than make these special stages, with admittedly catchy music, why not create an entirely new shine that takes place in that stage's overworld? Because I would rather be exploring new content in a vibrant tropical paradise than being trapped in this Yoshi's Island geometry nightmare. It feels like the developers just weren't ready to fully commit to the Flood gimmick, and I think the special stages without Flood should have been saved for the post-game or for non-mandatory missions. Sunshine follows 64's established formula where if you die, you get launched out of the level, and I hate this. I hate this so much. If you fail in a special stage and you still have lives left, you spawn at the start of the special stage. So why can't we spawn at the start of a regular world if we're killed in a regular world? I don't understand. Imagine being me, failing a special stage enough times to get a game over, getting kicked back to Isle Delfino, having to make my way back to the world entrance, reload that shine, navigate through the main level to get back to the special stage. It's time that adds up. And some of the platforming for these stages can be irritating in the early game, which just makes it all the more worse. There's just so much wasted time. Given the 3D All-Stars pack was a recent release, I wish Sunshine had gotten a remake that actually made some quality of life improvements as opposed to what they actually went with, which was just a slightly better emulated version of the game. But despite all of my complaints, all of my negativity, I am coming away from Sunshine understanding why people like it. It's different, it's unique, the tropical aesthetic and attention to detail with the world design is genuinely fantastic. One of my favorite things in video games in general is when you can see different levels in the distance, other locations you visited. It creates a real sense of a living, breathing world. So I adore that you can see most levels from Delfino Square. Or how about the way Serena Beach takes place in this gorgeous sunset? Or the way Pianta Village can take place at night, depending on the episode you pick. It gives Sunshine a sense of actual time progression, and it just makes this world feel lived in. Flood and the platforming, while personally not my cup of tea, is clearly designed with a lot of care, albeit with a lot of jank, and speedrunners no doubt know how to break this game and then some with Mario's movement tools. In a way, it did what Odyssey did with revolutionizing Mario's movement for a new game just 2 decades ago and with less polish. The music is top-notch. Koji Kondo and Shinobu Tanaka did a fantastic job creating these iconic and memorable tropical island tracks. It's great to finally experience these musical pieces in their natural habitat after hearing them as the backing tracks for many a YouTube video. Also, this may just be me, but am I the only person who thinks the Shadow Mario cutscenes go off on the intimidation factor? There's something about just seeing this ominous silhouette in the distance framed by the sweltering heat lines and not knowing what this creature really is. I never thought I'd see Bowser Jr. as a genuinely threatening antagonist, but there you go. His debut is easily the most disturbing he's ever been, and his voice acting is pretty solid for a kid. I love that the game really took its time before revealing him as the antagonist, letting the Shadow Mario character have a real chance to breathe across multiple worlds, culminating in that fantastic roller coaster set piece at Pinner Park. Great storytelling. I like how Shadow Mario chase sequences in the levels and Delfino Plaza also give the player a chance to learn more advanced movement tools as well, since Shadow Mario has Mario's exact moveset just without Flood. Learning through osmosis has never felt so good. Peach sounds alright, she could definitely do with a bit more reaction speed though. It feels like she's processing what's going on at a snail's pace, and I'm sorry, nobody is realistically that slow. You can tell she's a Karen, I will not elaborate. The only voice that sounds out of place is Bowser himself, but he literally only appears in the final boss cutscene, so it's clear that not as much care was needed for his casting. He sounds like a goofy dad, and I guess that fits the tone of the game more than I care to realize. Yoshi's in this game too, and he's there, not sure why. This breed of Yoshi getting melted by water is pretty horrifying, and Yoshi's juice mechanic was sorely underused in the main game, as I literally had to look up that he could even shoot the juice. It just never comes up in a main mission that's required. In the mission with that mechanic in Rico Harbor, I don't know if anyone even brings up that he can shoot juice. It's just something you're expected to know. Oh, and fuck getting Yoshi to the lily pad ride special stage in Delfino Plaza. Though I actually didn't mind the lily pad itself. I beat that stage without getting a game over. It wasn't that hard because anytime you mess up, you can steer into the 1-up on the course and just get infinite attempts. But actually getting to that stage is not worth the hassle. I would rather eat bricks. The Pachinko machine was pretty easy too, more frustrating because you're having to fight forced momentum from the game to get where you want to go, which can be very frustrating if the pixel you launch off just decides you don't get to go to the top left coin because it's like my f***ing game. Other Shine sprites that I'm informed were hard were the Watermelon Festival sprite, which was certainly a bit tedious, but I got there in the end. Once you have a path down the hill that gets the melon to the beach, getting it to the pier and across is pretty simple with FLUDD. Maybe have a podcast to listen to while you do that one though. That Shine sprite is placed precariously above a literal blender though. The Noki Bay secret special stage was rough too, because I found the climb up to the entrance to be extremely tedious, and then the stage itself was pretty challenging to climb even with FLUDD. Though I will give Noki Bay credit as one of the best levels in terms of actually changing its environment throughout the Shine missions, from Infected Bay to Non-Infected Bay. Yay! Pianta Village's Gloopy Inferno was a fun stage to attempt blind, but me being slightly unsure of my controls while on the underside of the village led to a couple of very sad deaths. Definitely a good challenge for new players though, and I'm aware that there are multiple ways to finish that mission, which I really like. I also really enjoyed Serena Beach's Manta boss. It was overwhelming and threatening, but with proper positioning and perseverance, I overcame it and felt pretty great. And can I just say, the red coin Pinna Park pirate ship level? Yeah, that one. Don't like that one. You know, I just want to apologize that this part of the video has just devolved into rambling. On the flip side, Noki Bay's second episode where you have to use the wall panels to make your way to the blooper boss was one of my favorite shines in the game because it doesn't really hint you where to go. You just get shown your endpoint and that's about it. Figure out how to get there yourself. Or Serena Beach's Hotel Maze, figuring out how to reach that bathhouse by traversing the various rooms and solving the puzzles to access Yoshi. It was unique, reminding me of those fun houses I'd visit as a kid. A tropical ghost house wasn't on my bingo card, but Sunshine made it work. I love my guidance in my games most of the time, but sometimes being let off the leash can be really invigorating. With all of that rambling out of the way, at the end of the day, Super Mario Sunshine, I'm afraid to say, will probably remain my least favorite 3D Mario game, as I don't sense a desire to 100% complete it unlike the other 3D Marios. Those blue coins just don't appeal to me in the slightest. They would if there was a way to track them though. I also don't have a desire to continue completing other Shine challenges after the credits rolled, and that's just my opinion. It was a great experience and a fascinating new way to play Mario, but I think I just prefer the classic controls and the more streamlined, clearer post-games of Galaxy and Odyssey. Yes, I enjoyed Odyssey's ludicrously bloated post-games, sue me. Sunshine is brutal towards first-time players, but was an experiment of Nintendo's that I think worked in their favor, because aspects of Sunshine's game design stayed present throughout the series, and showed that the team at Nintendo do have so much creativity to share with the world, and for that I am truly grateful. So thank you Super Mario Sunshine for the Nintendo GameCube and Nintendo Switch for saying ACAB. Thank you everyone for watching this video. My socials are on screen now, so feel free to drop a follow where you feel comfy, and I'll see you next week for another video. What are your experiences with Super Mario Sunshine? Let me know your favorite shines from the game down below, and if you have any fun stories. Bye bye!